Well, hi there, it's Anne from Room Junkie, and welcome to Module 4 of the Room Junkie Online Interior Design Masterclass. And today I'm going to be talking about layout and lighting, and I'm going to start with layout because the layout of your room is so important. So many people get their layout wrong. They buy furniture that's the wrong size, they position it in the wrong space, they just don't get it right. There's no flow in the room, and you all know rooms that look like this, and I hope you don't have one in your house, but I'm sure you've been in many homes that are like this. So the first thing I want you to do before you even consider the layout is to pretend you're working with me, that I'm your client. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to establish your brief. And just for the purposes of this class, I am going to plan the layout of a living room because your living room is so important. The furniture in it is quite an investment and you need to get it right. It's actually easy enough to get a bedroom layout right, so I'm going to focus on the living room. So the first thing we're going to do is to establish the brief. What do you actually use that room for? Do you eat in it? Do your kids do their homework there? Do you read a lot, or do you sew so that you might need to have extra lighting there? Maybe you've got a piano that you need to incorporate into the design. Think carefully about all of these things and then think about your budget. It always comes back to the budget. How much are you going to spend on this room? What's your investment? What furniture are you going to reuse and repurpose in the room? And then when all of this is done, you can sit back and I want you to think about the look of the room, the style of the room. Is it going to be a contemporary space? Is it going to be more classical and traditional? Do all of this before you do one thing about planning the layout. And then when all of this is clear in your head, I want you to draw a floor plan of your room. Now, if you've got plans from when your house was built, happy days, that makes life very easy. But I want you to get used to looking at it on paper, and I want you to draw in any furniture that you have or any furniture that you propose to use in the room so that you can move the furniture around on paper and see what layout you like and what you don't like. Look at the placement of your plugs, look at the placement of your light switches, your doors, the swing of the doors. Do they open into the room? Do they open out of the room? Your windows, all of this very important for the successful placement of furniture. So when this is done, you can start thinking about real furniture. And one thing that I do, if I'm starting a room with somebody, I will actually strip it back to the bare bones because it's much easier to do this. Take everything out of it. It's a pain, I know, but it's well worth doing. Take everything out of it. And then if you're buying new furniture, what I suggest you do is you measure the furniture that you're buying. Say you're buying a new sofa, say you're buying an L-shaped sofa. Well, I want you to be sure that you know whether the left to right is the right shape and direction for your room. I want you to measure the width of the sofa because sofas vary so much in width. Some are very narrow, some are very wide, and I love the wide ones, the ones that you could sit two people on. But if you've got a small room, that's a disaster. And I'm actually convinced that more people buy furniture that's too big for the room than that is the biggest design mistake that most people make. So I want your furniture to be absolutely 100% the right size. And most furniture shops will give you and either give you a photocopy of the dimensions, which they will have in a catalogue, or they'll give you a link that you can look up online and see exactly the length, the width, the height, the everything of your furniture. So important. I want you to think too about what type of sofas do you want. Lately I have been using a lot of modular sofas because you can build them and you can add chaise longue pieces, and you can do an awful lot with them, and you can almost customize them to fit into the space that you have, which is fantastic. If you opt for traditional sofas and chairs, don't go down the 3-seater and 2 single-seater route. It's boring. Nobody ever sits in the middle seat of a 3-seater sofa, so you'd be far better off with 2 2-seaters and a 1 or a 3-2-in-1 configuration, much more sociable. As well with sofas, I like to put sofas at right angles to each other or opposite each other. This makes for sociable conversation. You're looking at each other and it just looks much better, works much better. When you're planning your furniture in the room too, you must have circulation space around your furniture. This is really important, particularly if you've got a coffee table in the middle of the room. Very handy thing to have, but many times a room won't actually take a coffee table quite well, and in that case you'd be better off having nests of tables which you can use as lamp tables, and then if somebody's got a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or whatever, they can use a nest of tables. But if you're having a coffee table, do keep circulation space, adequate circulation space around between the coffee table and the sofa. Lamp tables, I like to put lamp tables in the corners of the room. I love lamps anyway because they add a nice little bit of height and light to the room. So lamp tables in the corner of the room, they anchor the room. I always do this. Your focal point is really important. If you've got a fireplace, then of course that's your focal point, and make the best of it. You know, dress it up, put a lovely piece of art above it, or a mirror if you want. But I find I like art over a fireplace, and I keep the mirrors for opening up the space elsewhere. Either side of your fireplace, you'll probably have a television and maybe a console table or a sideboard. And these are important too to get the right size and shape, and it's obviously very useful to have storage in your room. And now if you've got loads of books, you might need to consider getting some built-in units made that will house all of your books and take away all the clutter. Again, another little thing, if you want storage and you don't have an awful lot of space, instead of buying a coffee table, if you buy a coffee table that's actually a chest, you can put everything into it, toys, newspapers, you know, whatever you want, and it's a dual purpose piece of furniture, very, very handy to do. Now, this layout is so important, and let me tell you, if you look at your room and you think it's a bit too cluttered, there's too much in it, remember what I always say to you: if in doubt, take it out. Less is always more. Pare back. You know, you must have enough chair space or seating space to accommodate your family, of course, but don't clutter it up with extra bits and pieces just because you have them. You want this room to work, and you want it to feel open and flowing and in a very good way. And this is so good for us. Sometimes if you've got double doors, just keeping the double doors open is enough to do this, just to open up the space. But it's really important to have a sense of flow around the furniture so that there's adequate space to move around. And if that means taking out a bit of furniture, well, happy days, that's absolutely fine. I have a little note here to remind me in case I forget anything. I think I'm doing okay so far. Now I've lost my train of thought because I stopped to look at my notes. So to recap, the furniture, obviously the big furniture is the most important. Get the right size, get the right shape. Put newspaper templates down on the floor. I often do this, particularly if somebody's worried that furniture is not going to fit in a room. Just make a newspaper template of what you've got and put it down, and you can see where your lamp tables will be either side. You'll see where your coffee table will go, and this all sounds so easy, but if you take the time to do this, I promise you, you will get a super flow going through your room and through your house. So even if you're not going to redecorate your living room, even as an exercise, take everything out of it, just for curiosity's sake, and put it back in, being mindful of the flow, being mindful of the layout, and see how you get on, because I think your room might just be improved because of it. So second part of this module is all about lighting, so I'm going to record that separately, so I'll do that now in a few minutes. So look, be very mindful of your flow, particularly your circulation space, and I can't stress strongly enough the importance of having exactly the right sized furniture in your room. And even little tricks like if you've got a small enough room, if you've got furniture on legs, well, your eye is drawn to the floor under those legs, and that actually creates a sense of space, which is an old show house trick that I've used many a time, but it works. Neater furniture, obviously, in a smaller room is not going to take over the room and will work very, very well and still be perfectly sensible and comfortable. Comfort is important too. If you're somebody who likes support at your neck, if you want support at your back, do be mindful of this. Don't buy your sofas because you like the look of them. Yes, you must love the look of them, but they must be practical and appropriate for the space that you're putting them into as well. Okay, so until the second part of module 4, I'm going to take a break now, and you can digest what I've told you, and I shall talk to you very, very soon.